Ooh. Ooh, this ain't good. This is not good. This does not spell great news, but I don't think this is the end of the world. Sophie Cunningham opens up on her.
Sophie Cunningham just dropped a bomb nobody saw coming. But this isn't necessarily the end of the world. On our podcast, she opened up. She's stepping away from the WNBA and won't play in the 2026 season. And the real reason she's walking away, it should absolutely make the league sit up and take notice. This isn't about rest. It isn't a sabbatical or exploring other options. This is a player saying, I'm done with the WNBA. For now and maybe for good. Once you hear why, all the drama from this season, the fines, the jealousy, the physical chaos, suddenly clicks. Sophie didn't leave over a contract. She didn't leave because of injury. She didn't leave simply because she wanted a break.
Comes to maybe the physicality around the league, maybe it was a little bit too much. I think that what's considered a foul in the rule book maybe needs to change a little.
Sophie left because the WNBA environment had become so dysfunctional, so political, and so downright unsafe that continuing her career there no longer made sense. And believe me, her decision exposes a truth the league hoped you'd never hear. When Sophie Cunningham's choice to step away became public, it didn't just surprise fans, it rattled the league. She wasn't a bench warmer or a fringe player. She was one of the few who brought charisma, honesty, and national attention to the WNBA. She defended teammates, entertained fans, and gave the league a personality it desperately lacked. So when she walked away, the question wasn't why, it was what did this league do to her? This wasn't about losing passion, a random injury, or wanting to try a hobby elsewhere. This was a breaking point. For months, Sophie navigated tension on and off the court. She tried to stay loyal, she tried to be patient, but the mix of league politics, player jealousy, inconsistent leadership, and relentless pressure pushed her to one conclusion nobody expected. My future doesn't belong here, and it gets worse. Sophie leaving isn't an isolated incident. It's a sign, a symptom of a league whose internal problems are now too big to hide. Once one player steps away, others start asking, am I next? To understand Sophie's choice, start with the first crack in the foundation. Anyone who has watched her knows she plays and speaks directly and honestly without hiding behind safe phrases. But the WNBA doesn't reward honesty, it punishes it. Every time Sophie spoke on her podcast, saying what fans were already thinking, she faced fines, warnings, and reminders that the league cares more about controlling players than solving problems. That's what started to wear on her. Players get elbowed, shoved, knocked out of the air, and even injured, and the league shrugs. But when Sophie says these calls don't make sense, suddenly leadership reacts as if personally attacked. Think about that. A league that tolerates reckless physical play can't tolerate a player being truthful. Sophie wasn't being dramatic. She wasn't attacking anyone. She was offering insight, raising concerns as a veteran should. Instead, she was treated like a threat. What broke her patience entirely was realizing honesty would cost more than the hits she took on the court. Imagine being more afraid of a microphone than a defender. That pressure, the silencing, constant monitoring, reminded her of something she thought she left behind forever. Her time with the Phoenix Mercury, .in Phoenix. Sophie learned a painful lesson. Sometimes the biggest battles aren't on the court, they're inside your own organization. Her role shifted constantly. One season she was valued. The next she was treated like a replaceable piece. The front office lacked direction. Coaching decisions were inconsistent. Players were left wondering what the plan even was. That chaos sticks with you. So when Sophie joined Indiana, she wasn't just looking for a better team. She wanted stability, a home, a place where her career wouldn't be treated like a last-minute board game. But even in Indiana, she sensed Phoenix-like instability creeping back. Not from the team, but from the league itself. Leadership decisions didn't make sense. Rules seemed to change depending on the player, and trades, or push-outs, could happen overnight. She realized no matter how valuable a player is, security in this league is never guaranteed. Then came the Caitlin Clark spotlight. Joining the Fever didn't just give Sophie a new team. It gave her a front row seat to one of the biggest moments in modern WNBA history. Overnight, everything she did was magnified. Her interviews went viral. And as the pressure mounted, Sophie saw the same patterns she had once escaped resurfacing in new forms. That's when it hit her. Staying in the league meant gambling with her future yet again. Sophie's podcast gained traction. Her national appearances multiplied. Sponsors wanted her. Events invited her. She became part of the Caitlin Clark effect, and it changed her life. But the spotlight cuts both ways. Instead of being celebrated for stepping up, Sophie became a target for jealousy. Some players resented the attention she was getting. Others didn't want her benefiting from Clark's arrival. Some saw her as someone who had become too popular too fast. When jealousy mixes with a league already struggling to manage its growth, things get messy. Sophie wasn't just navigating a new team, she was navigating a political minefield, one where being close to Caitlin Clark made her a lightning rod. Every foul she committed got extra scrutiny. Every mistake was dissected. Every comment she made brought backlash. The spotlight helped her brand, but it also exposed her to a level of negativity she had never faced before. Things got even more dangerous when the physical chaos of the league escalated. That's where the breaking point came. The WNBA this season felt less like basketball and more like a weekly demolition derby. Players weren't just fighting for position, they were taking swings. Fouls weren't just hard, they were reckless. Hits weren't accidents, they were statements. And the league was silent. Sophie watched teammates get shoved, knocked down, and targeted in ways that had nothing to do with the sport. Those causing the damage were rarely punished. The real turning point came when Sophie herself was injured in a play she insisted wasn't intentional. But it carried the same out-of-control energy dominating the league this year. Getting hurt in an environment this unstable doesn't just hurt your body, it shakes your trust. Sophie realized the league wasn't protecting its players. Not the rookies, not the veterans, not the stars, not the role players, and certainly not Caitlin Clark, who took more violent hits in a single season than many players do in their careers. The court no longer felt safe. When recovery starts in a league that refuses to address the underlying problem, you start thinking long-term. That's when jealousy, physical chaos, and leadership failures merged into one unavoidable truth. Caitlin Clark didn't just change the league, she exposed it. Her presence revealed simmering grudges, insecurities, and old rivalries. Sophie saw it all. She saw players throw extra elbows out of resentment. She saw coaches encourage physicality for the wrong reasons. She saw referees swallow whistles when Clark was hit harder than anyone else. She saw league leadership treat the problem like growing pains instead of a crisis. Because Sophie stood next to Clark, defended her publicly, and refused to pretend everything was normal, she became part of the backlash. Supporting Caitlin Clark came with consequences. Sophie felt every single one of them. Players treated her differently. League officials watched her more closely. Every comment she made was twisted. She wasn't just playing basketball. She was navigating politics, resentment, and pressure both inside and outside the locker room. It became painfully clear. The league didn't know how to handle Clark's arrival. Instead of embracing her and protecting her, jealousy ran the show. Sophie had to ask herself, do I want to keep playing in a league that doesn't protect its biggest star, or the players beside her? That question exposed the heart of the WNBA's biggest problem. Sophie didn't just play the game, she studied the business. When the CBA debates heated up, she paid attention. What she discovered shook her. Some players negotiating the WNBA's new deal were also running their own off-season league. Think about that. The same people fighting for more money from the WNBA were also trying to ensure their competing product survived. That wasn't player empowerment, it was a clear conflict of interest. Sophie called it out politely, but clearly. And the moment she did, tension filled the room. Certain players didn't appreciate her honesty. Leadership didn't appreciate her transparency. People inside the system didn't like her exposing a problem they'd rather keep hidden. Sophie realized something the league didn't want her to see. The WNBA isn't being pulled forward by unity, it's being torn apart by competing interests. Sponsors want one thing, executives want another, players want something else entirely. Side leagues are trying to carve out space alongside it. And fans, they're confused, frustrated, and tired of watching the league fight itself. Sophie understood that trying to build a future in this environment wasn't just risky, it was exhausting. And for someone who thinks long-term, that exhaustion became a flashing red sign. This league isn't ready to grow the right way. That's the emotional core of her decision. Sophie Cunningham is tough. She's played through injuries, criticism, trades, and pressure. She never ran from adversity. She leaned into it. But this season broke something inside her that physical pain never could. Her trust in the league, the constant drama, the dangerous play, the fines, the politics, they all piled up. Basketball stopped feeling like basketball and started feeling like survival. Sophie wasn't tired of playing. She was tired of the environment, tired of walking into arenas wondering what chaos would unfold next, tired of being monitored more for her podcast opinions than her on-court contributions, tired of feeling honesty was a liability, tired of playing in a league that refuses to protect its own players. Mentally, it wears you down. Emotionally, it drains you. Professionally, it limits your growth. At some point, every athlete asks, is this worth it anymore? For Sophie, the answer finally changed. She realized the WNBA wasn't giving back what she put in. And once that balance is broken, leaving stops feeling like quitting and starts feeling like protecting yourself. So she walked away, and she walked towards something better. But here's what makes Sophie different. She didn't leave to disappear. She left to expand. Her podcast is already huge. Her media presence is growing faster than most rookies' highlights. Her personality is made for broadcasting. Charismatic, real, funny, and unfiltered. Networks love that. Fans crave that. Overseas opportunities offer more pay, fewer politics, clearer expectations, and leagues that actually protect players. For someone who wants stability without sacrificing competition, it's a no-brainer. The biggest advantage Sophie now has? Freedom. Freedom to build her brand. Freedom to speak her mind. Freedom to choose environments that value her. Freedom to grow without fines and fear hanging over her. Most players wait until their careers end to make this transition. Sophie made the leap early on her own terms. She didn't walk away from basketball. She walked away from dysfunction. And now the WNBA has to figure out how to explain losing someone who represented the league better than many of the people running it. The fallout is significant. Sophie leaving isn't just one player stepping away. It's a mirror held up to the league, and the reflection isn't pretty. The Indiana Fever lose a leader, a defender, a personality, and one of the few players who understood how to handle pressure in the Caitlin Clark era. Clark loses a teammate who publicly stood up for her when many stayed silent. Fans lose someone who brought humor, honesty, and realness to a league that often hides too much. And the WNBA, they lose credibility. When a respected, visible, marketable player walks away at the peak of her relevance, it sends a message. Something is wrong that if the league doesn't address jealousy, leadership failures, dangerous play, and the hypocrisy of punishing honesty more than violence, Sophie won't be the last. Her exit forces the bigger question. How many players quietly feel the same way? How many are waiting for their moment to step away? And who's next? Once a player with Sophie's visibility and courage leaves, it becomes easier for others to follow. So now I ask you, if you were in Sophie's shoes, would you stay in a league that refuses to protect you? Or would you walk away and build your future somewhere healthier, stronger, and more honest?